Morning, everyone. So here's our next episode on cortisol, stress response, and testosterone in men. So let's go ahead and jump right in. This is going to be a shorter lecture than the previous one, just because we we've touched on a lot of these basic things. For the sake of saving paper, I just kind of did a little line down here. So let's kind of revisit the hormone production in terms of steroid hormones. So we've got cholesterol right here, and we talked about a steroid hormone is by definition a hormone that comes from cholesterol backbone. So the gatekeeper hormone, is pregnenolone. This is kind of where everything starts. And then from pregnenolone, we get production of progesterone, we get production of DHEA, which is dihydroepiandrosterone. Say that 3 times fast. And then DHEA contributes to the production of testosterone. Notice here I've also drawn another arrow where progesterone goes down to testosterone, because this is also part of the testosterone production. And then you'll see another arrow here that goes to E, whereas testosterone production is responsible for estrogen production. And this arrow should actually go back and forth because there's transference in between these two hormones. They actually can go back and forth. And then we have pregnenolone, also responsible for the production of cortisol and aldosterone. The chart that you'll see for hormone production is a lot more complex. There's a lot of interaction between these different intermediary hormones that lead to the production of other ones. So this is just to give you kind of a really simple basis of just how complex of a system we are affecting when we're under chronic stress. Because when we're under stress, right, there's this little, I wrote cortisol down here. When we're under stress, we're going to preferentially shift towards production of cortisol, and then it's going to affect the flow of all of these other things. And I think it's really helpful for my patients to see how complex of a system this is, because if you're going to start shifting your production in one direction, I think it's really valuable to understand just how complex of a system that you are having an effect on. So suffice it to say that when we're under chronic stress, we produce more cortisol, and we preferentially shift away from producing testosterone. I'll put a plus sign here and a minus sign, and maybe a sad face, because low testosterone is very sad. It's a little sad face. You can't see it. Put a little, there we go. So the good news, right, is that low testosterone, or symptoms associated with low testosterone, such as low libido and erectile dysfunction, 2 of many potential symptoms, low energy, those can be reversed, specifically when we're talking about stress, right? There are a whole bunch of other issues regarding low testosterone that we are not talking about here. We're talking specifically about the stress response. And a lot of research out there shows that as soon as men deal with their chronic stress, they can actually increase their testosterone levels again and come back to where they were. Higher energy, better sex drive. And it's interesting because a lot of testosterone issues in men are actually what are called psychogenic, right? We have to rule out the cardiovascular issues because those are kind of the biggest rule out that we need to do clinically. But a lot of issues in men with testosterone can be dealt with naturally, stress being one of them, okay? So that's all there for you. 2 things that I'll discuss really briefly. They're essentially, aside from stress management, there are 2 herbs that I kind of tend to lean on when I'm thinking about stress. So there are a lot of different herbs that we can use clinically for dealing with low testosterone. Some of them are actually for stimulating libido. Some of them do stimulate testosterone. There's a whole bunch of options. But for this particular purpose, I think about herbs that are called adaptogens. And adaptogens essentially moderate the cortisol response. And naturally this would be important here because this is what we're trying to address to affect testosterone. Do not think herbs are a replacement for stress reduction. It doesn't work that way. Just put that out there. So the 2 herbs that I think are really the most well-researched and the most commonly used, one of them, maybe both of them you'll know, And these seem to have the highest affinity for the male reproductive system. Are ginseng and ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is an Ayurvedic herb. Ginseng is an herb frequently used in traditional Chinese medicine. And these are two herbs that I will commonly use when I put those in formulation with a lot of different issues. Testosterone, low testosterone or low libido, erectile dysfunction included. So I'll leave this here for you. It gets a lot more specific than that because we're dealing with combining different herbs, but this is a good general. I think ginseng is something that you can easily find over the counter. Don't ever take herbs without consulting an herbalist or a doctor first, because herbs are not entirely benign, especially when you're taking them at large doses. And when you're taking really high quality herbs, they are pharmacological. They have effect on your physiology, and it's important to understand that so that you don't cause harm. These, granted, are generally pretty safe with a few exceptions, okay? So hopefully that's helpful, food for thought. Stress can affect your testosterone, and dealing with your stress can improve it. It's not the only thing to think about, but it's one of many. All right, thanks.